The stars looked different from up here. Geo pressed his hand against the cold window of the orbital research station, watching Earth spin slowly below. He had been working on the station for 2 years now, fixing broken equipment and keeping the life support systems running. It was quiet work, but he liked it. "Jiho, come look at this," Hana called from across the lab. She was staring at her computer screen with a worried expression. Jiho walked over and looked at the display. Strange readings filled the screen. Something big was moving through space near Jupiter. Something that was not supposed to be there. "Is it a comet?" Jiho asked. Hana shook her head. "No, it's metal. And it's slowing down." Far beyond their station, in the darkness of space, a massive ship hung in the void. Its hull was dark red, covered in sharp angles and weapon ports. Inside the ship, Commander Thalkaz sat in his command chair, his 3 eyes studying the blue and green planet on his main screen. Thalkaz belonged to the Rexian Empire, a civilization that had conquered 247 worlds. His job was simple: find new planets, study them, and decide if they were worth taking. Earth was his next target. "Begin full scan," Thalkaz ordered. His voice was rough, like gravel scraping against metal. The crew worked quickly. Lights flashed across their consoles as machines studied Earth from millions of miles away. They scanned the air, the water, the cities, and most importantly, the creatures that lived there. "Report," Thalkaz demanded. His science officer, a thin Rexian named Pelmer, read from his screen. "The dominant species calls themselves humans. They walk on 2 legs. They have no claws." "No claws?" Thalkaz repeated. "What about fangs?" "None, Commander. Their teeth are flat, designed for grinding plant material." Another officer spoke up. "No venom detected. No armor plating. Their skin is thin and tears easily." Thalkaz leaned forward with interest. "Natural weapons?" "None, Commander," Pelmer said. "They are completely unarmed by nature. They run slowly compared to most predators. Their strength is average at best. They appear to have no natural defenses at all." The bridge fell silent for a moment. Then one of the younger officers laughed. "Prey," he said. "They are just prey animals." "Unarmed," another added. "Prey world confirmed." Thalkaz smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. This would be easy. In all his years of conquest, he had never seen a dominant species so weak. How did these creatures even survive on their own planet? "Study their technology," Thalkaz ordered. The scanners turned toward Earth cities. They watched cars moving on roads, planes flying through the air, and rockets launching into space. The Rexian crew examined everything. They used chemical propulsion, one officer reported with barely hidden amusement. "Like children playing with fireworks." "Their weapons are kinetic," another said. "Metal projectiles fired by explosive powder. Very primitive." Thalkaz watched as his crew analyzed human military bases. He saw tanks, jets, and soldiers. All of it looked like ancient technology compared to Rexian plasma weapons and energy shields. "What about their space presence?" Thalkaz asked. "Minimal, Commander. A few satellites. Some small stations in low orbit. Nothing that could threaten us." Pelmer brought up images of human cities on the main screen. "They have 7 billion individuals spread across the planet. They would make excellent workers once conquered." One officer intercepted human communications and played them on the bridge speakers. Music, news broadcasts, and television shows filled the air. The Rexians listened to human voices speaking different languages. "They cannot even agree on a single communication system," an officer noted. "They are divided into hundreds of political groups." Someone found a human movie and played a clip. On screen, human actors fired guns and fought with martial arts. The Rexian bridge crew watched for a moment. then burst into laughter. "Look at them pretend to be warriors," one said between laughs. "They make entertainment about violence because they know nothing of real combat," another added. Thalcaz studied the data carefully. Everything pointed to the same conclusion. Humans were weak. They had no natural weapons, no real military power, and no unity. They were perfect targets for conquest. Back on the research station, Jiho and Hana continued watching their screens. More strange readings appeared. "Should we report this to Earth?" Jiho asked. "Report what?" Hana replied. "That we see something strange near Jupiter? They will say it is equipment malfunction. But what if it is not?" Hana turned to face him. "What else could it be?" Jiho had no answer. The idea of alien life was exciting to think about, but scary to believe. He looked back at his screen, watching the strange metal signature move slowly through their solar system. On the Rexian ship, Thalcaz finished his assessment. He had seen enough. This planet would fall easily. The humans would barely resist. They might not even understand what was happening until it was over. He composed his report to the Rexian High Command. His clawed fingers moved across his console, typing in their angular language. Planet designation, Earth. Class 5 prey world. Dominant species, human. Threat level, minimal. Natural defenses, none. Military capability, primitive kinetic weapons and chemical propulsion. Political structure, fragmented and weak. Recommendation, immediate invasion with standard occupation force. Estimated resistance time, less than 1 planetary rotation. Resource value, high. Labor stock value, high. Strategic value, moderate. Thalcaz paused, reading his report one more time. Should he add anything else? He thought about the humans he had observed. Soft skin, weak bodies, primitive weapons. No, there was nothing else to add. This was the simplest conquest report he had ever written. He sent the message across the vast distance to the Rexian homeworld. It would take time for the message to arrive, and more time for the invasion fleet to gather and travel to Earth. But it would happen. The Rexian Empire never ignored such an easy target. Set course away from the system, Thalcaz ordered. We will return with the fleet. The ship's engines hummed to life, and the massive vessel began to move away from Earth's solar system. The crew was already celebrating, talking about the glory and rewards they would receive for discovering such a rich and defenseless world. Jiho watched his screen as the metal signature began moving away. It's leaving, he said. Hana looked relieved. See? Probably just an asteroid with high metal content. Our scans got confused. Maybe, Jiho said, but he did not sound convinced. Neither of them knew that they had just been studied like insects under a microscope. Neither knew that their world had been judged and found wanting. Neither knew that in 3 months, everything would change. The Rexian ship disappeared into the darkness between stars, carrying with it a report that would seal humanity's fate. In the Empire's capital, military commanders would read Thalcaz's assessment and smile. Another easy conquest. Another weak species to add to their collection done. They would prepare their invasion fleet. They would sharpen their weapons. They would train their soldiers, but they would not prepare for what humanity really was. They would not understand their mistake until it was far too late. Because the Rexians had made one critical error in their assessment. They had mistaken being unarmed for being harmless. 3 months had passed as the strange readings near Jupiter. Jiho and Hana had almost forgotten about them. Life on the orbital station continued as normal. They fixed equipment, ran experiments, and watched Earth turn below them. Then the alarms started screaming. What is happening? Jiho shouted over the noise. Hana was already at her console, her fingers flying across the keyboard. Multiple contacts. Dozens of them. They just appeared near Mars. Jiho ran to the window. At first, he saw nothing. Then, one by one, dark shapes began to appear against the stars. Ships. Massive ships. Each one bigger than their entire station. On Earth, every radar station, satellite, and telescope suddenly lit up with warnings. The Vrexian invasion fleet had arrived. In the war room, deep beneath Seoul, General Dohin stared at the displays showing the alien fleet. He was a careful man who had spent 30 years in the military. He had planned for many threats. But not this. Never this. How many ships? He asked quietly. 43 capital ships, an officer replied, plus hundreds of smaller vessels. Sir, they are broadcasting a message. Play it. A harsh, grinding voice filled the room. The words were broken, clearly translated by machine. Humans of Earth, you have been chosen. Surrender now. Become workers for the Vrexian Empire. Resist and you will be eliminated. You have one rotation of your planet to decide. The message repeated in dozens of Earth languages, each translation equally rough and threatening. Dohin looked around the room at his staff. Begin evacuation of the coastal cities. Get our forces ready. And someone contact the other nations. If aliens are real, then politics need to wait. The world erupted into chaos. News broadcasts showed the alien ships. People flooded the streets in panic. Governments tried to maintain order while simultaneously trying to understand what was happening. The United Earth Council, formed in an emergency session just hours before, sent a response to the Vrexian fleet. We request peaceful negotiation. Please send representatives to discuss. The message was cut short. 12 Vrexian landing craft broke away from the main fleet and plunged toward Earth's atmosphere. They were done waiting. Telkaz watched from his flagship as the landing craft descended. He felt confident. The humans had responded exactly as predicted, with confusion and fear. Prey animals always acted the same when cornered. Deploy forces to the 12 largest population centers, he ordered. Demonstrate our power? They will surrender quickly once they see resistance is futile. The landing craft touched down in New York. London, Tokyo, Mumbai, Sao Paulo, Lagos, Shanghai, Moscow, Cairo, Sydney, Mexico City, and Seoul. Ramps lowered. Vrexian soldiers marched out, their plasma weapons ready. Their armor a gleaming dot in Seoul. Captain Yuna watched from her position 3 blocks away from the landing site. She commanded a rapid response unit that had been rushed to the area. Her soldiers were hidden in buildings, waiting. Hold fire, she whispered into her radio. Let them move away from their ship. The Vrexian soldiers advanced down the empty street. They had expected screaming crowds. Instead, they found silence. The street was empty. Buildings stood quiet. This is wrong, one Vrexian soldier muttered. Where are the prey? He got his answer when the first rocket-propelled grenade struck his position. The explosion was followed by dozens more. Yuna's soldiers opened fire from windows, rooftops, and doorways. The Vrexians dove for cover, shocked. This was not how prey animals behaved. Prey ran away. They did not ambush. They did not coordinate attacks. Return fire! A Vrexian officer screamed. Plasma bolts tore through buildings. But the humans had already moved. They fired from new positions, then moved again. The Vrexians found themselves fighting an enemy they could not see, could not predict. Yun, I watched the battle unfold. Team 2 hit them from the south. Team 3 prepared to collapse that building on my mark. Her soldiers moved like water, flowing around the Vrexian positions. They used the city itself as a weapon. Buildings became fortresses. Streets became kill zones. The Vrexians had superior technology, but the humans had superior tactics. similar battles erupted in all 12 cities. The Vrexians expected quick victories. Instead, they faced coordinated resistance. Humans used weapons the aliens had dismissed as primitive. But a primitive bullet could still kill. A primitive explosive could still destroy. In Tokyo, human forces lured Vrexian soldiers into subway tunnels and collapsed them. In London, snipers picked off alien officers from impossible distances. In Mumbai, civilians used knowledge of their own city to set traps and ambushes. The Vrexians were not losing, but they were not winning either. This confused them more than anything. Aboard his flagship, Talkaz received reports from the surface. His confident smile faded with each update. 3 landing craft destroyed, Pelmer reported. Casualties are higher than expected. The humans are fighting back with unexpected coordination. They are prey, Talkaz growled. Prey that happens to have weapons. Send reinforcements. Crush them. More landing craft descended. More Vrexian soldiers joined the battle. The aliens threw their superior numbers and technology at the human defenders. In Seoul, Yuna's position was being overrun. Plasma fire cut through the air. Her soldiers were running low on ammunition. Captain, we need to fall back, her lieutenant said. Yuna shook her head. Not yet. The airstrike is almost here. She counted silently in her head. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fighter jets screamed overhead. Missiles rained down on the Vrexian positions. The aliens had energy shields, but the missiles were designed with shaped charges that focused their blast. Several Vrexian soldiers fell. Now, we fall back, Yuna ordered. Move to secondary positions. Her unit melted away into the city. By the time the Vrexians recovered from the airstrike, the humans were gone. Talkaz slammed his fist on his command console. What is happening down there? The humans are using guerrilla tactics, Pelmer explained. They attack and retreat. They refuse to fight in open battle, where our superior firepower would overwhelm them. Cowards, another officer spat. But Talkaz knew better. This was not cowardice. This was strategy. The humans were fighting smart, not strong. They were using their knowledge of their own world against an invading force, for the first time since arriving at Earth. Talkaz felt a small seed of doubt. General Doyen coordinated the global defense from his underground bunker. Reports came in from every battlefield. The picture was clear. Humanity was holding. They expected us to panic, he told his staff. They thought we would see their technology and surrender. They forgot to consider that we have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We know war. A young officer spoke up nervously. Sir, they have better weapons. Better armor. How long can we hold them? Doyun smiled grimly. Long enough. Every hour we fight, we learn more about them. We have already captured 3 plasma rifles. Our engineers are studying them right now. We have also recovered armor pieces and communication devices. You want us to copy their technology? Better than that, Doyun said. I want us to understand it, improve it, and use it against them. The Vrexians have been using the same weapons for centuries. We have been constantly innovating out of necessity. Let us see how they handle that. Back in orbit, Jiho and Hannah watched the battle unfold on Earth's surface. News feeds showed fighting in major cities. They saw human soldiers facing alien invaders. They saw their world at war. We should go back, Jiho said. We should help. Hannah nodded. Yes, but first, we need to do something up here. She pulled up schematics of the Vrexian ships. The aliens had been careless. They had not bothered to encrypt their communications properly. Why would they? They were facing primitive prey. I have an idea, Hannah said. But it is dangerous. Jiho looked at her. Everything is dangerous now. What is your idea? She explained her plan. It was risky. It might not work. But if it did, it would give humanity a major advantage. On Earth's surface, Captain Una led her soldiers in another raid. They struck a Vrexian supply depot, destroyed it, and vanished before reinforcements arrived. The Vrexians were learning that conquering Earth would not be easy. The humans refused to act like prey. They refused to surrender. They refused to be afraid. Thelkaz sent another message to Vrexian High Command, requesting immediate reinforcements. Human resistance stronger than anticipated. Recommend full battle fleet deployment. The response came back quickly. Request denied. You have more than enough forces. The Empire has conquered 247 worlds. We will not be embarrassed by hairless apes. Complete your mission. Thelkaz read the message 3 times. Then he looked at his tactical display, at the 12 cities where his forces were bogged down in urban combat. For the first time in his long military career, Commander Thelkaz wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. The war had been going for 3 weeks. What the Vrexians expected to last 1 day had turned into a grinding conflict that consumed more resources every hour. In a secret facility beneath the mountains, Dr. Somi carefully examined a captured Vrexian plasma rifle. She had been a doctor before the invasion, studying human diseases. Now she studied alien biology and technology. The power cell is interesting, she said to her assistant. It uses a chemical reaction we have never seen before. Can we copy it? The assistant asked. I smiled. Better. I think we can improve it. Across the facility, engineers worked on other captured Vrexian equipment. They took apart weapons, armor, and communication devices. Each piece taught them something new about their enemy. In another room, a young woman named Nari sat surrounded by computer screens. She was a hacker who had been recruited by the military. Her job was to break into Vrexian communication networks. Got it, she whispered, her fingers stopping their dance across the keyboard. I am inside their tactical network. She could see Vrexian troop movements, supply routes, and command communications. All of it was laid out before her like a map. The aliens had never considered that the primitive humans might hack their systems. Nari began feeding false information into the network. She made phantom units appear on Vrexian screens. She changed supply coordinates. She created confusion. On the surface, in the ruins of Seoul, Wujin moved through the rubble with his resistance cell. He was not a soldier. Before the invasion, he had been a teacher. Now he was a fighter. The Vrexians will patrol this street in 10 minutes, he told his team. We hit them fast and disappear before their backup arrives. How do you know their schedule? A young fighter asked. Wujin tapped his radio. Friends in high places. Now get in position. They set up the ambush perfectly. When the Vrexian patrol appeared, shaped charges detonated beneath their feet. The survivors faced gunfire from 3 directions. By the time Vrexian reinforcements arrived, Wujin's team was gone. But the Vrexians were learning too. They began changing their tactics. They stopped walking into obvious traps. They started using drones to scout ahead. They adapted. General Do-Yoon watched the war maps with concern. They are getting smarter, he told his staff. We cannot rely on them making the same mistakes forever. Then we need new advantages, an officer suggested. Du-Hyan nodded. Get me Dr. Somi. When Somi arrived at the war room, she brought a small vial of green liquid. What is that? Do-Yoon asked. Vrexian biology is different from ours, Somi explained. Their blood uses copper instead of iron. Their immune system has never encountered Earth viruses. I have created something specifically for them. A bioweapon? A targeted one. It will only affect Vrexians. Humans will be completely safe. Do-Yoon stared at the vial. Using a bioweapon was a serious decision. It crossed a line. But the Vrexians were trying to conquer Earth, to turn humans into slaves. What lines were left? How do we deploy it? He asked. Through their air filtration systems. If we can get it into one of their ships, it will spread through their entire fleet within days. Da-hun made his decision. Do it. In orbit, Ji-ho prepared for the most dangerous mission of his life. He and Hannah had spent weeks planning. Now it was time to act. Are you sure about this? Hannah asked through his radio. No, Ji-ho admitted. But it needs to be done. Their small shuttle drifted toward a Vrexian supply ship. The aliens had grown careless with their smaller vessels, assuming humans had no way to reach orbit. They were wrong. Ji-ho matched velocity with the Vrexian ship and used a magnetic clamp to attach to its hull. Then he began cutting through with a plasma torch they had built from captured Vrexian technology. 30 seconds, he whispered to Hannah. 2010. The hull gave way. Ji-ho pulled himself through the hole into the Vrexian ship. Inside, everything was alien. The corridors were taller than human ones. The controls were written in a language he could not read. The air smelled like copper and ozone. Ji-ho moved quickly through the empty corridors. Most Vrexian ships were automated. Only a small crew was needed. He had to reach the air filtration system before anyone discovered him. He found it after 5 minutes of searching. A large machine that processed the ship's atmosphere. Ji-ho pulled out Sami's vial and poured the green liquid into an intake port. An alarm began to wail. Time to go, Ji-ho muttered. He ran back toward his entry point. A Vrexian soldier appeared in the corridor ahead of him. The alien raised its plasma rifle. Ji-ho did not hesitate. He fired his captured Vrexian weapon first. The alien fell. Ji-ho reached his hole in the hull and dove through. His magnetic boots lost contact with the ship. For a terrifying moment, he floated free in space. Then Hannah's shuttle caught him with a grapple line. Got you, she shouted. Hold on. The shuttle's engines roared to life. They raced away from the Vrexian ship just as it began firing at them. Plasma bolts tore through space, missing them by meters. Did you do it? Hannah asked. Yes, Ji-ho gasped. The weapon is deployed. Within hours, Vrexian soldiers on the supply ship began showing symptoms: fever, weakness, difficulty breathing. The ship docked with the flagship before anyone realized what was happening. The bioweapon spread through the Vrexian fleet like wildfire. Commander Thelkaz felt the illness hit him 3 days later. He collapsed in his command station, his 3 eyes unfocused. Commander! Palmer rushed to his side. Medical team to the bridge. Around him, other crew members were falling ill. The flagship's medical bay was overwhelmed. Hundreds of Vrexians lay in beds, struggling to breathe. What is happening? Thelkaz managed to ask. Unknown illness, a doctor reported. It is spreading through the entire fleet. All ships are reporting cases. Thelkaz's mind raced even through the fever. An illness that affected only Vrexians. An illness that appeared suddenly. This was not natural. The humans, he whispered. They did this. On Earth, the Vrexian ground forces also began falling ill. The soldiers who had been feared for their strength now stumbled and fell. Their attacks lost coordination. Their defenses weakened. Captain Yuna saw the change immediately. They are sick. All of them. The soldiers looked at each other in confusion. How? Does it matter? Yuna asked. This is our chance. Prepare to push them back. Across all 12 cities, human forces went on the offensive. They struck Vrexian positions that had been too strong to attack before. They recaptured territory that had been lost. The tide of the war shifted dramatically. General Do-hyun coordinated the global counterattack. Do not let up. Press every advantage. Woojin's resistance cell captured an entire Vrexian command post. Inside, they found maps, communication equipment, and 6 sick Rexian officers. What do we do with them? A fighter asked. Wujin thought for a moment. Give them water and medical care. We are not them. The young fighter looked surprised. They invaded us. They tried to enslave us. Yes, Wujin agreed. But if we act like them, then what are we fighting for? In orbit, the Rexian fleet was in chaos. Half the crew on every ship was ill. Ships drifted out of formation. Communications became confused and panicked. Tailkaz forced himself to stay conscious. He had to think. The humans had done something impossible. They had turned biology itself into a weapon. They had taken their weakness, their soft bodies and fragile systems, and somehow made it a strength. Send a message to High Command, he ordered. Tell them we need to withdraw. Tell them the humans are more dangerous than we thought. Commander, High Command has already sent a response to our previous reports, Palmer said weakly. They are sending reinforcements. A full battle fleet. Thalkaz felt horror cut through his fever. More ships. More Rexians. All coming to a planet where the humans had proven they could fight back in ways the Empire had never imagined. Cancel the request, he said. Tell them to stay away, sir? That is an order. Thalkaz shouted, then collapsed into coughing. Tell them this planet is not what we thought. Tell them the humans are not prey. But the message was sent too late. The Rexian reinforcement fleet was already on its way. And on Earth, humanity was preparing for the next battle. Dr. Somi looked at her vial of bioweapon and felt both pride and guilt. She had saved lives by creating it, but she had also crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. We did what we had to do, her assistant said, reading her expression. Yes, Somi agreed. But that does not make it feel better. Nari continued feeding false information into Rexian systems. Wujin led more raids. Yuna pushed her forces forward. All across Earth, humans fought with every tool they had. They used chemistry, biology, physics, mathematics, and pure creativity. They proved something the Rexians had never understood. Being unarmed by nature just meant humans had learned to arm everything else. The war was far from over. But humanity was winning. The Council of Rex met in their grand chamber on the Rexian homeworld. 12 council members sat in a circle, their faces grim. Before them stood Commander Thalkaz, back from his failure at Earth. The head counselor spoke first. You lost an entire invasion fleet to a primitive species. Explain. Thalkaz had spent the long journey home preparing for this moment. With respect, Counselor, they were not primitive. We were. Angry murmurs filled the chamber. Silence, the head counselor demanded. Continue, Commander. We classified. Earth is a prey world based on biological scans, Thalkaz explained. The humans have no natural weapons, so we assumed they were harmless. We were wrong. They do not need natural weapons because they build better ones. He activated a holographic display. Images of human technology filled the air. Weapons, ships, tools. In 6 months, they reverse-engineered our plasma rifles and improved them, Thalkaz said. They created a bioweapon specifically targeting our biology. They hacked our communications. They used tactics we had never encountered. How is this possible? A council member asked. We have conquered 247 worlds. None of them resisted like this, because none of them were like Earth, Thalkaz replied. The humans evolved on a death world. They survived mass extinctions, ice ages, and predators far more dangerous than us. Survival made them adaptable, resourceful, relentless. The council members looked at each other uneasily. They are persistence hunters, Thalkaz continued. They do not give up. Ever. Even when we outnumbered them, outgunned them, they kept fighting. They learned from every battle. They grew stronger from every defeat. The head counselor leaned forward. "What do you recommend, Commander?" "We need a new classification system," Talcott said firmly. "The old categories do not account for species like humanity. They are not prey. They are not even predators in the traditional sense. They are something else, something more dangerous." He brought up a new document on the display. "I propose we classify Earth as a Class 1 Apex Persistent Hunter. Threat level maximum. Recommendation: non-contact species. Diplomatic relations only." The Council read the report in silence. It detailed everything about humanity: their adaptability, their creativity, their refusal to submit, their capacity for both extreme violence and unexpected mercy. "We also need to send a message to all Vrexian forces," Telkaz added. "Earth is off limits. Any ship that approaches human space without diplomatic clearance is on their own. We will not send rescue. You want us to fear them?" A council member asked incredulously. "I want us to respect them," Thalkaz corrected. "Fear is what prey feels. Respect is what equals give each other." The vote was called. The council approved the new classification. Earth became the first world in Vrexian history to be listed as a non-contact species due to danger level. Word spread quickly through the galaxy. Other spacefaring civilizations heard about the Vrexian defeat. Some did not believe it at first. The mighty Vrexian Empire, turned back by a species that had barely reached its own moon? But the evidence was undeniable. The Vrexian fleet had returned home damaged and depleted. Thousands of soldiers told stories of human tactics and weapons. The reports could not be ignored. 5 years after the invasion, Earth looked very different. Jiho stood on humanity's first interstellar colony, a small station orbiting Proxima Centauri. He was the chief engineer now, overseeing construction of new facilities. "The next supply ship arrives tomorrow," his assistant told him. "They are bringing materials from Earth and trade goods from the Vrexian Empire." Jiho smiled at that. Who would have thought? Trading with the people who tried to conquer us. "Times change," his assistant said. From the station's observation deck, Jiho could see ships from a dozen different species docking at the trading platform they had built. Vrexian cargo haulers, Telnari science vessels, Quellan merchant ships. Even a few species humanity had never encountered before. They all came to trade with humans, some for technology, some for resources, all of them with caution and respect. Hana had become Earth's lead xenobiologist and diplomat. She traveled to different worlds, studying alien life and negotiating treaties. She had learned 7 alien languages and was working on her 8th dot. Today, she was on a Vrexian diplomatic ship, giving another presentation. But this time, she spoke to curious young Vrexians who wanted to understand the species that had defeated their empire. "Humans are not special," Hana explained. "We simply adapted to survive. Any species would do the same in our position." A young Vrexian asked, "But why did you offer peace after you won? You could have destroyed our fleet." Hana thought carefully about her answer. "Because we are not warriors by nature. We are survivors. Warriors seek conflict. Survivors seek solutions. Fighting was necessary to protect our home. But once the threat ended, continuing to fight would have made us the threat." The young Vrexians listened intently. They were the new generation, learning a different lesson than their parents had been taught. Back on Earth, Admiral Yuna commanded the defense fleet from a massive orbital station. Earth's military had grown significantly in 5 years. They now had ships that combined the best of human and alien technology. "Admiral, we are detecting an unknown vessel at the edge of the system," a sensor officer reported. Yuna's expression hardened. "Battle stations, but do not fire unless they show hostile intent." The unknown ship was small, clearly a scout. It stayed at maximum sensor range, studying Earth from a distance. "They are scanning us," the sensor officer said. "Let them look," Una ordered. "And make sure they see our defenses. Let them see what happens to worlds that underestimate us." After an hour, the unknown ship turned and left. It would carry information back to its people. Information about humanity's strength, about their weapons, about their preparedness. General Do-hyun, now retired, taught military strategy at the new Interstellar Academy. Students from Earth and several allied species attended his classes. The key to defeating the Vrexians, he explained to his class, was not superior firepower. It was superior adaptation. Every time they changed their tactics, we changed ours faster. Every weapon they had, we learned to counter. War is not about strength. It is about learning faster than your enemy. A Telnari student raised a tentacle. "But General, the Vrexians had centuries of combat experience. How did humans adapt faster?" Diane smiled. "Because we had to. The Vrexians fought to expand their empire. We fought to survive. Necessity creates innovation. Remember that." In a quiet office in Geneva, Ambassador Taiyang met with Thalkaz. The former Vrexian commander had requested asylum on Earth after facing criticism back home for his failure. "Your people accepted my request," Thalkaz said. "Why? I led the invasion that killed thousands of humans." Taiyang poured tea for both of them. "Because you learned from your mistakes. Because you tried to prevent more bloodshed when you could have escalated. Because we believe people can change. My own people see me as a failure. Then they are still making the same mistake they made 5 years ago," Taiyang said. "Judging by appearances instead of actions, you are not a failure, Commander. You are one of the few Vrexians who truly understood us." Thalkaz picked up the teacup with his clawed hand. "What will you do now? Humans have access to the galaxy. You could expand, conquer." "We could," Taiyang agreed. "But why would we? We have resources. We have trade partners. We have peace. Conquering others would only create new enemies. Not all species think like that." "Then we will defend ourselves," Taiyang said simply. "But we will not attack first. The galaxy has enough warlike species. Let us be something different." On the orbital station, Wu Jing worked as a civilian engineer. He had put down his weapons after the war ended. He built things now instead of destroying them. Dr. Somi had returned to medicine, but she could never forget the bioweapon she had created. She established strict protocols for its storage and pledged to never create another. Some tools were too dangerous to use twice. Nari worked in cybersecurity, protecting Earth's networks from the constant probing of curious or hostile alien systems. She also taught young humans about the importance of digital defense. All across Earth and its growing colonies, humanity built a new future. They constructed ships, stations, and cities. They established trade routes and diplomatic relationships. They proved they could be peaceful neighbors, but they never forgot the lessons of the invasion. Every human child learned about the Vrexian War in school, not as a story of triumph, but as a reminder. The galaxy was vast, it was dangerous, and Earth would always need to be ready. A new alien species entered human space one day. Their ships were sleek and fast. Their scanners swept across Earth's solar system. The alien commander studied the readings. No natural weapons detected on the dominant species. Relatively fragile biology. Minimal physical advantages. Before he could finish, his first officer interrupted. "Sir, I have been reviewing the galactic database. This planet is listed as a maximum threat species by the Vrexian Empire." The commander pulled up the file. He read about the Vrexian defeat, about human adaptability, about their weapons and tactics. "Interesting," he muttered. "What are your orders, sir?" The first officer asked nervously. The commander made his decision. Send a diplomatic envoy. Make sure. 6 months into the war, the landscape of Earth had changed completely. Cities were scarred by battle, but the Vrexian occupation had collapsed. Their ground forces had retreated back to their landing zones. Their fleet stayed in high orbit, out of range of Earth's weapons. In a secured facility in Geneva, Hana stood before a room full of Vrexian prisoners. These aliens had surrendered when the bioweapons swept through their forces. Now they sat in chairs designed for their larger bodies, watching her with suspicious eyes. Commander Thelkaz was among them. He had recovered from the illness, but he looked different now. Older, defeated. "I am a xenobiologist," Hana began. "Before your invasion, I studied life on Earth. Now I study you. And I understand why you made your mistake." The Vrexians shifted uncomfortably. None of them spoke. "You classified us as prey because we have no claws," Hana continued. "No fangs, no venom, no natural armor. By every measure your empire uses, we are weak." Telkaz finally spoke. "You are weak. Yet you fight like you are not. This makes no sense." Hana smiled. "That is because you do not understand what made us." She activated a holographic display. Images of Earth's ancient history appeared in the air. Dinosaurs, ice ages, volcanic eruptions, mass extinctions. "Earth is what we call a death world," Hana explained. "For billions of years, life here has fought to survive against impossible odds. 99% of all species that ever lived on our planet are now extinct. We are the descendants of the ones who survived." The Vrexians watched the images with growing unease. "We did not evolve as predators," Hana said. "We evolved as survivors. Do you know how our ancestors hunted? They chased animals until those animals collapsed from exhaustion. We call it persistence hunting. We are not fast, but we never stop. We never give up." Thelkaz remembered the human soldiers who had fought his forces. The way they kept attacking, even when they were losing. The way they regrouped and came back stronger. "We are also pack hunters," Hana continued. "We coordinate in groups larger than any species you have encountered. A single human is weak, but humans work together in millions, billions. We organize into armies, nations, and now a united planet." New images appeared. Ancient humans making stone tools, building fires, creating weapons. Most importantly, we are tool users. We have been making weapons for 2 million years. We started with sharpened rocks. Now we split atoms and harness the power of stars. We did not evolve claws because we learned to make knives. We did not evolve thick skin because we learned to make armor. A young Vrexian prisoner spoke up. "But our weapons are superior. Our technology is more advanced, is it?" Hana asked. She gestured to Jiho, who stood at the back of the room. Jiho stepped forward carrying a Vrexian plasma rifle. "We captured this 6 months ago. Within 3 weeks, we understood how it worked. Within 6 weeks, we had built our own version. Within 12 weeks, we had improved the design." He placed the rifle on the table and picked up a human-made weapon. It looked similar to the Vrexian one, but sleeker, more efficient. "Our version uses 30% less power and has a 40% longer range," Jiho explained. "We also made it cheaper to produce. We can make 10 of these for the cost of one of yours." The Vrexians stared at the weapon in disbelief. "You have had the same technology for centuries," Hana said. "Why would you improve it? You are already dominant. But we have always had to improve. If we did not adapt, we died. That is the difference between you and us." Thelkaz felt something he had never felt before. Not fear of defeat, but fear of understanding. The humans were not just winning this war. They were learning from it, growing stronger from it. "You classified us as prey," Hana said quietly. But you forgot to ask the most important question. How did a species with no natural weapons become the dominant predator on a death world? She paused, letting the question hang in the air. The answer is simple. We did not need claws because we built them. We did not need fangs because we made them. We are not armed by evolution. We are armed by choice. And that makes us capable of unlimited escalation. In another part of the facility, Ambassador Taiyang met with representatives from the Vrexian fleet. He was a diplomat who had worked for the United Nations before the invasion. Now he represented all of humanity. Your ground forces have surrendered, Taiyang said calmly. Your fleet is sick and weakened. We have captured enough of your technology to reverse engineer it. You have two choices. The Vrexian representative, an officer named Corvin, listened with barely controlled anger. Choice 1. Withdraw from our system completely. Open diplomatic relations. Trade with us as equals. We will share medical treatment for the bioweapon. No more deaths. And choice 2? Corvin asked through gritted teeth. Taiyang's expression hardened. We destroy your entire fleet. We have been studying your ships for 6 months. We know their weaknesses. We have nuclear weapons in orbit right now, positioned around every one of your vessels. We also have kinetic bombardment platforms. And we have your own captured plasma weapons pointed at you. You would not dare, would we not? Taiyang asked. You came to our world planning to enslave us. You killed thousands of our people. You destroyed our cities. And you think we would not dare defend ourselves? Corvin had no response. Here is what you do not understand, Taiyang continued. We are not trying to conquer you. We do not want to destroy you. We just want you to leave. But if you force us to fight, we will not stop until you are gone. Not your fleet. Not your empire. All of you. Gone. The threat was clear. And Corvin believed it. He had seen human determination. He had watched them turn losses into victories. He had witnessed their creativity and adaptability. I will relay your offer to command, Corvin said quietly. Back in the prison facility, Hana finished her presentation. We do not want to be your enemies, she told the Vrexian prisoners. But we will not be your slaves either. You made the mistake of judging us by what we are, instead of by what we can become. Dalka stood up slowly. All eyes turned to him. I wrote the report that started this invasion, he admitted. I called Earth a prey world. I said you would surrender in one day. I was wrong about everything. He looked at Hannah with his 3 eyes. But I still do not understand. If you are so dangerous, why do you offer peace? Why not destroy us completely? It was Woojin who answered. He had been standing quietly in the corner, listening. The resistance fighters stepped forward. Because we remember what it was like to be invaded, Woojin said. We remember the fear, the anger, the desire for revenge. If we destroy you, your empire will come back stronger. They will seek vengeance. The war will never end. But if we show you that we can be peaceful when given the choice, Hana added, then maybe you can teach your empire that Earth is not prey. We are equals. We can trade. We can learn from each other. Or we can fight until one of us is extinct. Thelkos sat down heavily. Your offer is generous. More generous than we deserve. Yes, Hana agreed. It is. But we are not making this offer because you deserve it. We are making it because we want to build a better future. One where we do not have to fight. The meeting ended. The Vrexian prisoners were led back to their cells. They were treated well, given food and medical care. This confused many of them. They had been taught that showing mercy to enemies was weakness. But as the days passed, some of them began to understand. The humans were not weak. They were simply choosing peace over violence. And that choice required more strength than fighting ever did. In orbit, Captain Una, now Admiral Una, commanded Earth's newly formed defense fleet. They had built ships using captured Vrexian technology combined with human innovation. The vessels were smaller than Vrexian warships, but faster and more maneuverable. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the Vrexian flagship," a communications officer reported. "Put it through," Una ordered. Corvin's face appeared on the screen. "Earth Fleet, we are preparing to withdraw from your system. Our command has agreed to Ambassador Taiyang's terms." Una felt relief wash over her, but she kept her expression neutral. "Understood. We will escort you to the edge of the system to ensure there are no misunderstandings." It was both an offer of respect and a clear warning. The humans would make sure the Vrexians actually left. "Agreed," Corvin said. "And Admiral, your people fought well. Better than we expected." "We fought for our survival," Una replied. "That is all." As the Vrexian fleet began its slow departure, people on Earth watched from the streets. Some celebrated. Others cried. Many simply felt exhausted. Somi watched from her laboratory. The bioweapon she had created had saved Earth, but she knew its existence changed everything. Humanity had proven they could weaponize biology itself. That knowledge would spread. Nari shut down her hacking operations. The Vrexian networks went dark as the fleet left communication range. She had spent 6 months inside their systems. She knew more about Vrexian technology than most Vrexians did. General Do-hyun addressed the planet from his command center. "The invasion is over. The aliens are leaving. We won. But we cannot forget what we learned. The galaxy is not empty. And we are not alone." That night, Jiho and Hannah stood on the orbital station, watching the Vrexian fleet shrink into the distance. "Do you think they will come back?" Jiho asked.